Okay, in this video, we're going to look at protecting a sheet but unlocking certain cells. So let's assume I wanted to send the spreadsheet to a team member. I didn't want them to be able to edit any of the formulas, but I wanted them to insert comments in this particular column over here. So what I'll do is I'll type in comments, just to give it a heading, and next to each line, I want them to be able to add a comment, right? I'm just going to expand that column. So what I would do is I would highlight the area that I want them to be able to edit. I would right click on it, okay, and now go into the format cells option over there. And you'll see there's different tabs, in terms of formatting, but the last one here is one called protection, right? When I click on the protection tab, you can see that the current setting of these cells is locked. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to untick it so that it's no longer locked. So these cells only become unlocked, and I click on OK. Now, why that's important is you see if I go to anything else, like let's say I highlight that area, if I go into the format cells, these ones will still remain locked. But obviously this particular one here, remember if I highlight it, and I go into the format cells, I'll see that it's not ticked on, right? If you happen to select both locked and unlocked cells, so let's say I select from there to there, so we know that these top ones are locked and these are not. If I go into format cells and protection, I'll see this particular icon. So it's neither tick, it means that part of it is locked and part of it is unlocked. Okay, that's just for information. Now at this point, it makes no difference. I can still edit the whole sheet because, whether it's locked or unlocked doesn't matter, because the sheet isn't yet protected, right? So I can make edits in both cases, right? So I can type here, you know what I mean? And I can type in comment here, right? For example. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to say, let's actually protect the sheet, right? Now we're going to protect the sheet and we are going to allow users to select the locked and the unlocked cells. And I'll show you how that works. And we're going to now click on OK. Right, now when I do that, if I try to click here, you can see I can't really make any edits. If I try to click here, I can't make an edit. But if I go in anywhere into these unlocked cells, I can edit it. So the sheet is protected, but because these cells are unlocked, anybody opening this on the unlocked cells can actually make edits. Now, one of the things I want to point out is that somebody looking at the sheet is not going to be able to just tell that this cell, for example, is unlocked and editable, right? Whereas the cell right next to it and all these other ones are basically locked and not editable. The only time they'll find out is when trying to make an edit and if the system gives them the message. So what I would typically recommend is that when you set an area, that you're going to make it unlocked and you want them to be able to edit it, you should basically change the formatting of that, all right, when it's unlocked. So let's have a look at how we would typically do that. We would go, now I'm going to go back and unprotect the sheet. So what I would say is you typically can put a note in and then you may put in a different color. So for example, a different background color, and you could put in a note to add your comments in the yellow highlighted block, for example, so they know that that's the case, right? You can also, remember, we allow people to select both types of cells, right? But what you can also do is if you go into the protect sheet, what you can do is allow people to select the unlocked cells, but tick off the locked cells. So anything that's locked, you don't allow them to select it, but they can only select the unlocked. Now, if I say OK, if somebody tries to click anywhere here, they won't be able to click. It won't move, the cursor. So here, if I click, you can see I can select different cells in the unlocked area. But the moment I try to click out of it, I can't. Also, if I take my my down arrow, you can see I can move it down, down, down. But when I get to the last one, it just moves back to the top. So that actually makes it a lot easier in terms of, people can clearly see these are the only selectable cells that they can edit. The other thing, though, that you should know about this is that if they wanted to see what logic there is in these calculations, they won't be able to do that because they cannot actually click on any of the cells and they can't actually see the formulas that make it up. All right, so that's basically data protection in a nutshell. It's a very useful feature. There's a lot more to it. So for example, if I go like right now, right, if you look at this particular one, they can't do anything. They can edit the content while it's in the protected space. While these things are unlocked, but the sheet is protected, they can make edits to this. But you can see that they can't, for example, change the formatting. No, they can't choose to change these colors, which is the default setting that we had. Now, if I go to Format Unprotect Sheet, and now I go and I say, okay, let's protect the sheet again. But this time around, you can see the option here, allow users, all users of this worksheet to format cells, format columns, format rows. You see, you can give them additional functionality or additional rights if you like, while still being able to protect the sheet. Now that I've ticked on the formatting option and I say okay, right, now they still can't edit out here, but when they're here in these cells, you can see now they can even change the background color, which they couldn't do before. So somebody now in the protected state can go to these unlocked cells and say, okay, I'd like to have that to be blue. So obviously, if you didn't want them to have the ability to change the formatting, then when you did the protection, coming back here again, you would just make sure that these formatting options are turned off, and that's normally the default. So I hope you fully understand, this issue of the formatting rights on unlocked cells, and also the ability to select locked cells versus selecting unlocked cells.